Boston skyrocketed to fame as one of the best-selling rock bands in history, with their self-titled debut album achieving over 17 million sales in the United States. Yet, behind the bright lights and roaring crowds, dark and intense pressures loomed over the band, ultimately leading to the tragic suicide of lead singer Brad Delp. The mastermind behind Boston, Tom Scholz, was a perfectionist whose exacting standards influenced both their rise and their struggles. This is the story of Boston's poignant journey and the hidden turmoil that haunted their greatest achievements. Formation and early years, 1969 to 1975. Boston's story begins in 1969, when Tom Scholz, then a student at MIT, first dabbled in composing music, creating instrumental tracks like Foreplay. While at MIT, he connected with guitarist Barry Goudreau and drummer Jim Mazdia, two musicians who would become key players in Boston's lineup. Scholz later met vocalist Brad Delp in 1970, and their collaboration solidified the unique sound that would define the band. After earning a master's degree, Scholz began working at Polaroid and invested his earnings into a basement studio where he recorded demos, but these were repeatedly rejected by record labels. In 1973, the band formed under the name Mother's Milk, though it was short-lived. Undeterred, Scholz, Delp, and Mazdia kept working on new material, including tracks that would later become Boston classics like MoreThanAFeeling and Peace of Mind. Scholz's experimental sound, fueled by his custom-designed pedals, set Boston apart from the start. Breakthrough with Epic Records and debut success, 1976. Boston's fate changed in 1975 when Scholz's demo landed unexpectedly in the hands of Charlie McKenzie from ABC Records, who was impressed enough to bring it to Epic Records. The label saw potential, but Scholz faced a major hurdle. He didn't have a fully assembled band to perform live. In a scramble, Scholz gathered local musicians, including Delp, to put on a showcase that secured Boston a massive 10-album deal with Epic Records. Scholz resisted the label's push to re-record demos in Los Angeles, instead cleverly negotiating to refine them in his basement studio in Boston. The resulting album, Boston, 1976, was an overwhelming success, launching the band into the spotlight with over 17 million copies sold. Struggles with perfectionism and pressure from record labels. After the debut, Epic Records was eager for a follow-up, but Scholz's perfectionism clashed with the label's timeline. Despite feeling unprepared, Scholz reluctantly agreed to record their second album, Don't Look Back, 1978, which, though rushed by Scholz's standards, still hit #1 on the charts. Scholz, however, grew increasingly disillusioned by the industry's pressures, almost walking away from music altogether due to the strain of rushed production and relentless touring demands, legal battles, and band turmoil. As Scholz tried to regain control over his music, he fired his manager, discovering that he had been claiming a share of royalties for years. This led to a series of lawsuits, and the friction within the band worsened. Guitarist Barry Goudreau left to pursue a solo career, leading to further conflicts with Epic Records. When Scholz delayed releasing their third album, Epic CBS retaliated by withholding royalties, sparking another prolonged legal battle. Scholz finally won, but the grueling process slowed the band's momentum and added to the internal strain. Brad Delp's departure and later albums. Amid these battles, Brad Delp briefly left Boston and teamed up with Goudreau for a new project. Scholz recruited vocalist Fran Cosmo to fill in, and in 1994, Boston released Walk On, which included tracks reminiscent of their earlier work and achieved platinum status. Delp eventually returned, creating a unique dynamic where he and Cosmo shared vocal duties. Yet Scholz's dissatisfaction with record label support led to yet another lawsuit, this time against Artemis Records, adding to the band's history of legal struggles. Brad Delp's tragic passing, 2007. In 2007, tragedy struck when Brad Delp was found dead in his home from suicide. The shocking news devastated fans and bandmates alike. Delp left notes and took careful steps in a heartbreaking decision to end his life alone. His passing left a profound void in Boston, with his last performance having taken place just months prior. The band honored him with a tribute concert, celebrating his life and Boston's music legacy. Conclusion: while Tom Scholz has continued to perform under the Boston name, fans haven't seen new material from the band as of 2023. Despite the challenges and loss, Boston's music endures, beloved for its rock anthems and the unforgettable voice of Brad Delp. Their story is a powerful reminder of the hidden struggles behind musical success and the toll fame can take on even the most talented and determined artists.